Hi, today I would like to take a chance to show you a little bit more information on a 1040 and to do another practice on a 1040. So as you can see, I'm at irs.gov. We're going to practice doing a simple tax return. So I'm going to go pull up a 1040. And it's quite simple. It's 2 pages. You looked at it when we did Indigo Smith. And the next thing that I'm going to pull up, which is on your Moodle shell, is, to your class real quick here, it is Ella Berry's W-2. So if you go into chapter 3, you can see all the way at the bottom here, there is Ella Berry's W-2. And what I'd like to do is just use this really simple W-2 to complete that 1040. So I just want to point out a couple things. Here's her social security number and her information. And in box 1 are her wages that she pays federal income tax on. That is different from the wages she pays Social Security and Medicare on. And I'd just like to explain that the reason there's a difference in those boxes is because she's either contributing to a tax deferred account, like a 401k or a simple plan or some sort of IRA, or she's contributing to a health savings account. So whenever there's a difference between box 1 and 3 and 5, most often that is because of some sort of tax deferred contribution. So she's putting money away pre-tax that she gets to build up over time. So, and then the next arrow is box 2, shows how much income tax she's paid in, federal income tax. Below that, it shows her Social Security and her Medicare. And then down here at the bottom, it shows her state income tax information. So what I'd like you to do is, I'd asked you to print out a 1040 before you started this lab chat. Let's go together. You're going to have a pencil and I'm going to have a keyboard. And using that W-2, let's start filling in the tax return. So way up top here, she's single. And her name's Ella Berry. And I've got her social security number. And her address. And then you have to make sure up here to check that full year healthcare coverage. If she doesn't have full year healthcare coverage, she can be penalized. So for the ones that we're practicing and for the one on the exam, assume that she's got that. She doesn't have any dependents. And when she's done with the tax return, she's going to come back and sign it. So I'll give you a second to finish that, and then we'll go to page 2. So on page 2, she has got right away box 1 or line 1 from her W-2. What amount did I just show you on the W-2 is susceptible to federal income tax or is taxable for federal income tax purposes? Go ahead and key that number in. And you don't use pennies on a tax return. Then she doesn't have any of these other sources of income, so go ahead and do what it tells you on line 6. Total income, add lines 1 through 5, add any amount from a Schedule 1. We practiced a Schedule 1 with Indigo, but Ella doesn't have anything there, so go ahead and complete line 6, please. And then line 7. And just to refresh your memory with Indigo, she did have a Schedule 1, so she did have an adjustment to her adjusted gross income because she had some student loan interest that she deducted, but Ella does not. Now we're on line 8. And it says standard deduction or itemized deduction from Schedule A. We're not doing itemized deductions in this class. So everybody that we're using is going to be using the standard deduction. So I just go over here and it tells me how much. Single is 12,000, married filing joint 24, head of household 18. You should be familiar with these three filing types. We did that and covered that in the second lecture on the PowerPoints. So which is greater, the standard or the itemized? And we're using standard. She doesn't have any qualified business income because she's got a W-2. And then it tells us on line 10 to subtract lines 8 and 9 from line 7. So go ahead and do that, and then we'll move on to the next step. So this is, nope, that's not the right number, sorry. Yeah, 42,801. So this is something called TI, or taxable income. And this is the amount that we actually take to the tax tables. And we know she's single, and I think I've told you that you can find the tax tables. They're in your slides for chapter 3. And they are slide number 5. And that will be something obviously that you will want to have accessible right now, but also for when you do the exam. So let's go down, let's look at slide 5. And let's go back. You should write down, if you would please, her write down her taxable income. Nope. Oh, I'm having a hard time finding the tax return we were just working on. Sorry. Write down, oh, here it is. Write down the taxable income, and then we're going to go use the slide and calculate it together. So put that $42,801 somewhere that you can get back to it. Okay, so $42,801. I'm going to go look and see where the taxable income, she's going to fall right here, isn't she? 42,801. So what I need to do is write down the actual formula for using this chart. And so, and this is an old chart. So sorry, bear with me. This is not the current rates, and I'm not quite sure why. This is from what's posted. Sorry. So again, we're using that number 42,801. And so she's in the 22% marginal tax bracket. In other words, once she hit 38,701, everything after that is taxed at 22%. So they're telling us her tax is, so I'm going to write this down, $4,453.50 plus 22% of the amount over 38,700. So let's just take a look at what that looks like from just a mathematical perspective. So federal income tax, I'm just writing this down in algebra just like I read it from the slide, times the amount over the amount of the taxable income over that number. So once I do that math, I'm going to know what she owes. So let's do this up here first, that 42,801 minus 38,700, which is taxed at that highest marginal rate of 22%. So if you, I'll give you a couple seconds to do that on your calculator, and then we'll enter that number. And we don't use pennies, so just round it to $902. And then, of course, we've got to add the $4453.50. So federal income tax equals $4453.50 plus $902. So again, rounding, this is the amount of her tax. So that number is going to go right into where it asks for tax. So is that the amount she's going to owe? Well, no, I've got to finish this here. So she doesn't have any kids, so she's not going to have a child tax credit. So now I'm down on line 13. And go ahead and do just what it asks you to do. Subtract line 12 from line 11. And then on line 14, I don't have any other additional taxes. So go to line 15 and do what it tells you. And then we need to put in the amount of income tax that she had withheld from her paychecks. So you have to go back to Ella's W-2 and see if you can find the amount that you think Ella paid in during the year. So take a minute and go find that. And I think it's right up here, $43.93. So you can already see, is she going to owe or is she going to have an amount coming back? So I'll give you a couple minutes. Look down here. There's two areas now. Is she going to get a refund or is she going to owe? And then just do exactly what the lines tell you to in the part that you think pertains to her. And it looks to me like her tax bill is going to be $963. So she's going to print this tax return. She's going to write a check for $963. She's going to attach her Form W-2. She's going to come up here and sign it and date it. And then she's going to go to the instructions to find out where to mail it in. That's not usually how people do it anymore. Most people will electronically file, but I just want you to be aware that if you're doing a paper copy, that's what you would do. This will be quite similar to what you'll be responsible for on the exam, so make sure that you know how to do this. And thank you for watching this.